Welcome back to Fate Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and it is 45 minutes after the hour. I am going to just say that I have no idea where that soapbox came from or how it got under my feet, but it is what it is. I am opinionated when it comes to children and paranormal investigations, and I feel like if you come across a case where you believe there is something negative that's dealing with the child, that you should get a priest, period. A priest who is trained to help you with that. I know there are fantastic deliverance ministers out there, but I'm more comfortable if a child is involved with it not being anyone but a trained priest. And that being said, I do think, guys, that we need to include that side of the paranormal investigations in any kind of testing or research side that you were going to do, but that would be extraordinarily difficult because those are very smart entities and they're doing their job when they're causing trouble. What do you think?
Well, they're definitely doing their job. And I think that comes back to or not. That's not, you don't get a certification in it. And if you do, it's fake. And that's where my opinions fall on some ears and end up not popular, but I don't really care. I'm not going to change my opinion. There are people that are meant to do those things and people that aren't. And a lot of people that aren't meant to do them are doing them. And they're hurting children or families, and they shouldn't be.
Well, I would agree with that. And, we actually had a little bit of a sound gremlin there, and that was, they missed the beginning of that, but basically the ending covered that when you said that, they're causing harm and that needs to not be allowed.
Right, absolutely.
Well, if you're wanting to do this testing, then getting people involved with the programs, the ideas as they come up, mainly you need some leadership to come and step up to devise some sort of a methodology plan, right?
Right. And, that's something that we can put together to start with, but ultimately that's not our choice. We are not the grand poobahs of paranormal investigation, and no one is.
Well, nobody is, but you're the ones that are trying to establish the testing in order to be able to have this documented better, for lack of a better word, to have the research out there. So reaching
Absolutely.
out to team leaders of teams that you're familiar with the work of and comfortable with their knowledge and results would be a good step, right?
It would be. And I really, truly hope that some of those people in those groups are open and willing to help. And so far, that really honestly hasn't been the case. There's a lot of people that we've talked to that just want nothing to do with it. They want to do their own thing, find their own stuff for themselves, and that's all they want to do, which is perfectly fine.
It is.
But at the same time, in 5 to 10 years, if this field doesn't evolve to where it needs to go, you're going to be right back on the front page of the Sun newspaper and everything else, to where no one really considers what you're doing to be legitimate. We're on the cusp of that, where people don't care anymore, and which is really sad for this field, because there's a lot of people that are going through phenomenon that can't explain, that can't understand, and they need help. And it's up to us because there's not enough priests and ministers in the world to travel to everyone's home to help them deal with these things. We've all taken up that mantle to help our fellow neighbors, our families, our friends, and in our communities to make sure that they are able to understand what they're dealing with. A big part of this is counseling. We have to help them understand through counseling of what they're dealing with, whether it's paranormal related or not. And a lot of times when it's not, we have some customers that believe that it still is. And that's their choice to believe that. But we have to reinforce what is documentable, what is explaining their experience scientifically with proof to level the playing field.
Yes. And, tragically, you'll have the client who doesn't believe that this is a physical issue or a mechanical issue or some other provable cause within their home. And then,
right. We've had,
but then they shop it out. You document what is causing it, and then they shop that out, and they're going to find a team that's going to say, oh, why, yes, you have demons. Let's fix that. And
yeah, we've definitely experienced that one before.
I think everyone has, right? And how would you deal with that if you were, because the client has the right to do what they want to do, but if you've proven and documented that it's not, that there is a mechanical cause or there is a physical ailment that's causing this, as we often see with sleep paralysis, then, which everybody until recently has been like, oh, well, that's demonic. You're being held down in bed. It's, doing things. And as a rule, it's a sleep disorder. So
see, that's the problem that comes into this field. And,
exactly.
We've said it a billion times, is that with the great privilege that this has gained over the last decade of being on TV through numerous shows where it's gained notoriety, where we can actually talk about it without being the laughingstock or in the water cooler that used to be. It's also created that double-edged sword there once again. With that ability, there's a lack of education. And everybody who watches a show, not everyone, but a majority group class out there, has watched the paranormal investigation TV show on YouTube or TV, and then Noah says it famously best, picks up a camera and a digital recorder and instantly thinks they're a paranormal investigator. That's not how this works. You have to research from one case to the next, to thousands to hundreds of years ago. There's a whole bunch of things that could possibly be going on. And if you go into a house where there is a situation with a client that is experiencing sleep paralysis and nope, you're a demon. You got a demon. Let's do an exorcism.
Exactly.
Even a exorcism on someone that is not possessed can still cause harm, psychologically, physically, and beyond. So that's the biggest thing we want to do with this Supernatural Paranormal University, is create educational systems that people will study from your investigation 2 weeks ago at a local haunted location, our location 3 months ago at a haunted house. All these case studies that can be put together to help people understand what's going on will give us education, just like any historian, just like any accountant, just like any doctor, to have that knowledge to fall back on to be able to help their client in the future.
Well,
just to back that and agree with our friend Miss Manda, who's listening in, that it's really true. Most people don't. They don't do the research. They watch a show, they get on Google for 5 minutes, and then they're an expert.
Mm-hmm.
When there's people that have been doing this their whole lives that will absolutely refuse to call themselves an expert. That's something we've spoken about before.
Absolutely.
I might be called on by some, but you don't hear me say it about myself. We just do what we do because we're attempting to help And that's the goal of it.
Absolutely. You know, it goes kind of back to the physician's rule of do no harm.
Right?
And that's
And the
my
amount of
main
people in
rule.
the farm is kind of sad.
Yeah, there needs to be that law in the paranormal field.
It needs to be that law in every field. It's a life law. I mean, it's not just a, you know, this person or that person. That's a life law. Do no harm and don't act out. You know, help
Right.
people where you can. Be the change. And that's so important and so apparently difficult. But, and I sound like I'm being just judgmental 7 ways to Sunday, but I'm not. There are things that have physical cause. And I have had 3 clients that I have said, I need you to have a sleep study done to rule out physical causation of what you're experiencing. Not one of them did that. And you can't help them if they're not going to go and see, you know, you can't do it. If the normal isn't ruled out, then you can't move to the paranormal. And people do that all the time.
I mean, they looked up Old Hag once and took 2 minutes and read a couple paragraphs about it. So obviously they know more about it than you do.
Well, obviously.
So they're not going to have that sleep study done that could possibly help the entirety of the rest of their existence.
And I never understand that because they're scared. I mean, these people are actually afraid to be in their own home, to sleep in their own home, and for, you know, 2 appointments, basically, they could discover if it is, you know, an apnea or whatever other related issue and have that fixed instead of being terrified to go to sleep. And they are. It's a real experience, a real phenomenon for them. And it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably a variation of Munchausen syndrome to a degree where people wish and want to have that experience and they portray it or project that, and there's no way of getting around it.
But don't they normally do that by projecting onto children to get the attention for, you know, oh, poor me as a parent, look what I'm dealing with, or projecting to others?
Right. There's Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy.
Right.
That, you know, are just terms for it, but it falls under this. And, you know, I just had a friend bring that up again. And what you were talking about, they want to believe it, so they'll just keep shopping around until somebody agrees with them and says it. And like the group that you were talking about a minute ago, that they'll go every single house they get attacked, every house has a demon. So these people will search for them.
And they'll find them too.
Yep, they'll find them. Because, you know, those people watched a couple TV shows once, and they got a really good camera at the local pawn shop. So they know everything there is to know, and they're professionals. And everywhere they go is, you know, a high-ranking demon is in that house, and they know how to deal with it.
Right, and it's never a lesser demon.
Oh, yeah,
it's never a lesser demon. So
every time it's the big red guy's like right-hand man.
And it blows my mind because that would be the last thing I would want to accept. I would fight tooth and nail against somebody telling me that and me being forced to believe it. And yeah, we are I can't believe this time is flying. We are 30 seconds away from our top of the hour 5-minute news break. But, you know, I am just so interested in how y'all are planning to evolve into getting more people on board with us. And Noah, I would like when we come back for you to discuss a little bit about what brought you into the paranormal field, if you don't mind. But right now,
No, that's all right.